Okay, this is a symbol known as the heptagram. It's the seven celestial bodies of the days of the week that we currently are under. And we're going to discuss where it all comes from and some aspects of it and a different way of looking at it than we talked about 2.5 years ago, but some overlapping in connections, just like this looks like a spider web that makes connections. First of all, whenever I first discovered this, I was trying to play Dungeons and Dragons and so on. And oh, you got off into satanic crap and everything. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. We. Now I was trying to figure out what kind of little spell things that I could throw in one that would be something you had to figure out. And it would be something simple like this. And after you figured it out, the thing would happen. And funnily, it was almost a teaching tool in some way, but a learning tool in another. And I keep telling you that through all my vids that things were surrounding me all my life, and it kind of led me almost weird in a way into revealing all this to me just off simple things that I did. And then of course other times I had to try to search out that point and find my way back, and then that made connections too, and then it kept making connections to other things, and it just kept enveloping and enveloping. And music, whenever I was a kid, was real prominent, we would say, and all the way from the 60s music through the 70s and heavy metal, and it started being neoclassical and all those type of things. And you'd see these symbols like this, and of course devil worshipping things, and it reminds one of Black Sabbath, and of course Dio comes to mind, and the stories where we talk about in the Bible and where it comes down to, and that it's really, Dio had a song called The Last in Line, and it seems like that's really just a telling of a conglomerate after situation of the people that were the last in line. And weirdly, in the last of the song, it's talking about how you're last in line, the last in line, and he keeps repeating and repeating it, and then he finally ends with, you're the first in line. And when I was studying all this stuff, it was like, well, oh yeah, well, these people all of a sudden that supposedly were the last in line somehow became the first in line. And how does that happen? Well, Caucasians have a predominance of propping people up like hell. You can see what's happened to some third worlders and recent primitives and stuff, and it's amazing. But at the same time, that's what it's showing in the biblical tale, but they got that from someplace else. And they got that actually, as far as I can go back and trace it, is actually Sumerian, where they have a 7-day week, and it's built on the gods, which are all built on the stars, and the planets, which are known as wandering stars, right? And so that's real familiar when I started studying that to the Greek and Roman gods and stuff, and how those all work with the planets, and how they have deified people, it seemed, in a way, and made them into remembered forever as planets and stars, constellations, and stories were built around mythology and old legends working off the zodiac. And so you look into it and you say, well, that couldn't have happened. Some of them are just too fanciful of tales. Well, in reality, there's still some truth in that. It's just, if you look at the zodiac, it's the story going around there. And while you could probably pick out those 5 pictures and say, make up a story, I'll give you a few days and make up a story that connects these objects off into it. And here's the secret: you have to kind of weave into it the tale of what happened in the Great War of blah 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 blah, and how that all worked out. And so it has to seem like this works out this way and that way, just so it works with everything. See if you can do that, knock it out. And you can do it. but it might come across with some fanciful crap. But of course, if all the other stuff has all kinds of mythological fancy crap into it too, it fits. In fact, it's made to go that way, and it's allegory and things and what you could see off the shine of an object. But now I'm going out in left field, and we're not really talking about this exactly yet. So surrounding you is all kinds of things. Like if you look at this, this is a very much a pentagram, hexagram looking type of thing. And of course, this would have been witchcraft not too long ago, and secret knowledge that no one's supposed to have. And why? Because it reveals the connectivity of all of it that was supposed to have been. Now it looks at, well, nobody knew anything, blah, 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 and it's like, no, it's not even close to the way it went. But so in this picture here, let's see, use a little diagram here. We're looking at, okay, so witchcraft and stuff. So always when you're invoking witchcraft and Wicca, you invoke the sun and the moon and the stars, right? And you say, well, the stars, okay, well, what are you talking about? Well, this comes from way back. And okay, so what are you which stars are you talking about? Well, certain stars are angels, if you will, and certain stars are gods, and planets means wandering stars, and that's the ones we're going to focus on because they're the ones that are in place and all these positions and all these pantheons that do things for us, right? So we're working off that. So we have the sun that's up here, and watch the connections as it goes around, but the sun goes to the moon, and then we're going to invoke the stars, and we invoked Mars, Aries, god of war, and then Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, and it completes. What are all the connections? Well, they're right there in front of you in some ways, but in esoteric, there's a lot of other ways too. It says the names on these, but in the depictions that I saw of the earliest ones, and these are all in old scrolls that they took from witches and stuff, and nobody's supposed to see this anymore, but somebody kept some of the crap, and then you never no telling what the Vatican has on little stuff like this, but it goes back to symbols that I've seen on rocks and even in cave painting and stuff, back to way back machine, you know. So how old is the crescent of the moon, and the sun being shown as a circle or a dot with a dot in the center of it? Well, just a circle, it's the sun, and the crescent is the moon. Okay, and you can have rays coming off of it like lines, but you have a version and a version from this god here that is a sun, but is the female version. You have a sun that is a male version. You have a sun over here, though, kind of weird. Now, it has a cross on it, and the female has a cross on it, but this one has horns, or a portion of the crescent, a partial eclipse. You could go with a lot of different ways with that, but that's Mercury as shown here, but that's also not the same symbol in the same place. And sometimes, and also people always wonder, well, the way that lines up, that doesn't go, well, doesn't Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's what that is. Sunday, Monday, Moonday, Tuesday, Tewes, or Tyr. This is a Nordic god thrown in there, and everybody's got it. So I'm telling you, all the gods from different places are different things. But then you have Mercury, then you have Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. But each one of these gods are different gods that they've deified, and so pagan things are long lost and taken away, and you don't know anything about it and everything. No, it's surrounding you. The days of the week are named after them, and these ancient sun worshippers, every day is called a day. And so that's automatically Dios or Day. That's it. What is that? Well, that's the original God of it all. Well, what are you talking about? Well, that's the Son. And actually, just like this, it fully completes it, Jesus, and it's the Son God again, and there you go. And now we are gods of this earth going on, just like it says in the Bible, and you eat the fruit and you do your thing, only they screwed up and they were the last in line. You can tell these other people got it all going on a whole lot earlier, this civilization that we live in now. And some people look at that and they go, oh, no, you're supposed to have been natural and doing these things and all that stuff. And we're all supposed to still be primitives or cavemen or whatever? I mean, a natural progression, even in those people, shows you that's not the way that it goes. But you can look back at things that they had going on, and they're already studying Taurus, ancient Cro-Magnon cave art. They've got Taurus with the Pleiades, and it's all lined up here. There's Orion's belt. So when we talk about the Sumerians and ancient Chaldean astronomers, and they tell you they have so much respect for those people because they've been going from the Wayback Machine, they really kind of knew what they're talking about. But they could also run time backwards. They were masters of time. They could take and run the stars backward and tell you when the last eclipse was, and somebody that remembered would be like, yep, and well, they could tell you when the next one was coming up, and yep. And they could kind of figure out now too whether it was going to be a partial eclipse or if it was going to hit you all the way. Yep, they had it all figured out, and the way everything went around and around each other. But then it all got lost somehow due to strange other beliefs, and people grabbed for it and killed off the others, and don't want to get into the depth of it all, but people would say it's almost lost. But no, reality's in front of us. Science, boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, the earth is not the center of everything. It's the sun. In this depiction here, Earth would be in the center of everything. It would also be you, or something from my childhood, Rush. The rock group would have a pentagram with Vitruvian Man stuck in it. Forced to live in this week where, what is this? Well, this is time and everything going on. This is the way we've set up life. Days could be declamated in any kind of way, but they're declamated in a way that adds up to a certain amount of weeks equal a month. And it goes back, well, you have the sun and the moon here, right? Starting it all off, so you have to give them credit. Well, where do they get it at? Well, the moon has a 28-day cycle, and its phases, coming in, waxing and waning and all that, are broken into 4 components. 4 times 7 is 28. And there's 7 celestial gods and everything. And isn't it amazing how that all works out mathematically? And they're like, oh, okay. And they started figuring out that there are connections from the smallest of life to the biggest of life, and these golden scales and golden rules, golden measures, sacred geometry, and all this is going off of it. And some of it was how the planets react. And they said, well, how much is that? Well, that's the same as this measurement, and that's the same as this one and everything. Well, how could that possibly be? Well, it's all connected, and as above, so below. That's where you get that idea from. It's where they got that idea from. And it's not like they came up with it. They heard it from others. The Bible comes from after the Babylonian capture. They were well aware of a lot of these stories, but they seem to have made their own versions. I've got a few videos about that and how that works. I did one on Genesis, and just in the first chapters make so many connections and the truth and reality of all that, and how it connects towards the Sumerian tale of Gilgamesh, Utnapishtim, Noah, and all the things that work off of it. But that's other videos. This is just the days of the week. And every day is a day. And day, or Deus, is God. Deus Pater is Jupiter. And that works across all of these people that were interconnected at one time. And if you take that linguistics back a couple of steps, everybody understands it. In fact, something like Deus Pater, Jupiter, da da da, you can understand that. J's weren't really around in our linguistics until like the 1300s. But something like this I've seen from the 1300s, and he's a witch. Well, you know, and I think of Monty Python and just all kinds of myriads of thoughts whenever I talk about this. But so Saturn has a weird symbol too. So what we see is these ancient symbols that predate any of the biblical ideas, and they go way, way back with certain people. And you'll end up seeing that there's a circle with horns on it, but yep, there's a cross on it. There's a cross on her, and the female version is a circle with a cross, right? The males is the same thing with a circle with a cross. It would just be flipped the other way, but to show you a male signification, they give you an arrow. Jupiter here has a cross next to a hill. And if you turn it on its side like it is now, it works the other way. Or there's also a cross and a sun going across it. It is eclipsing it, so it's cut off. Well, the sun ends up dying on the cross every year. These ancient Babylonian people figured out that the sun falls a certain amount every day from the height of summer to the dead of winter, and then it stays still, and then it comes back up. And when it's summer up here, it's winter down there, and when it's winter here, it's summer down there, right? Well, they had this all figured out, and they declimated a circle to be 360 degrees in circumference. Why? Well, it's a measure off of the sun and its movements, and it falls 1 degree per day. So they declimated that amount, and it seems the same amount. And this is the way it's all working in the sun and everything, and it controls everything, and let there be light, and there he is. And so it's pretty easy. I'm going to keep up with it, and it's falling against the horizon different every day and all these things, and they declimate where that goes, and siding stones, and the next thing you know, you have something like this laid out on the ground. And ironically, whenever you have it laid out on the ground, like Stonehenge and these other stone circles we're talking about, if you're standing at where it says moon, the moon traverses through these points on this circumference with not necessarily this spirograph pattern, but others that are ones that are just about the moon, just about this, just about that. And you'll find that its farthest reach on the planet, when the moon goes at its highest waxing point, wobbling around the earth from going from more in the south to more in the north as it travels around the earth, the highest point it hits are where some of these sacred Stonehenge and other circles like Arkham and others are on. So they had this all going on a long time before and stretched over a long expanse. And before any of this stuff that's biblical and all that crap, and even the stories come about, for we know if looking at literature, it goes about 4000 BC. Well, we're talking about things that are reaching on that point and come from much far earlier than that. But man, I could sit on this picture all damn day, and actually it's got the story of the days of the week in this article, or actually it's a wiki article, and they even have it in there where they're talking about it, but they don't talk about everything. And some symbol like this, they're just like, well, look, isn't it neat how it goes around and around? And isn't it neat how in the center there, you look at it and it'll make a diamond if you look at it just right. Yep. And even though it's strange and it's not a 5-pointed star, it's not a hexagram, it's an odd number or a prime number, you'll see weird shapes in that too, and triangles. In fact, it's actually made up of things that look like the Star Trek symbol. Show you how things were in my face always when I was a kid. It shows the Star Trek symbol, that little V looking shape, right? And you know, there's that live long and prosper. Well, I did a video about that and how that works with ancient Jewish priests and blessings of Asherah and this goddess that, oh yeah, God had a wife and everything. They had this whole pantheon going on. It's just saying, no, you're just going to call it this one thing so we don't ever argue about this BS, right? Cut to its core in one sentence. But science and reality doesn't go away, and then all these ancient depictions and these things, and I'm telling you that you can take this in a different way and make a flower of life and all these different things off of connecting circles to this point too. You kind of see what I'm saying. Let's just take this and spread it sideways until where Saturn is the edge of a next one, or take this rim to the edge of the moon, and it would make a Vesica Pisces out of this and that side of this overlapping. You start looking at things, and this is actually a popular gem cut. Rubies are quite often and diamonds are quite often cut in this exact gem cut. Can you see it looking down on that ring? So sometimes when they say one ring to rule them all, you're like, what? And it's got a whole lot to do with a lot of things and this rings that are going around it. But this is the circle of life. This is a little bitty wheel. And see, there's little bitty wheels hooked up to other gears that are bigger wheels. And then using this differential here, it runs this big, great circle of the zodiac going around. That's 28,868 years or whatever they try to go with nowadays. But the declination of 7 days and 52 weeks in a year breaks out to where we've got that 365-day calendar. But it was on a 360-day calendar, you see, because the circle of the earth is 360 degrees. And so a day is a day and a circle and a this and everything. Well, it doesn't quite work out like that. And what even made me want to do this video was that I was just randomly looking, doing videos, and somebody was it was two apologetics are arguing about Dada. So okay, it's a video about somebody doing a critique on apologetics. Let's just check it out, what I can do about it. And they're talking about, well, the reason that we have a week is that God spent 7 days and then he rested 6 days and he rested on the 7th. Well, so then you say creation is a 6, and also you're saying in that God is non-omnipotent, non-omniscient, whatever, because he had to take a break. And they argue that no, that we're just trying to teach people that they need to take a break and all these type of things. Well, no, that actually comes back from the Sumerians and dictating and ancient laws and codes where they turned around and I'm not going to work you to death. You're going to take a break. Well, if you work 6 days and on the 7th day you're worshiping this thing and keeping that circle going on, it's kind of inhibitive. We don't even do that. We do 5 and 2. Well, if you look at this, it's 7, but it's actually 5 and 2. The sun and moon thing, but really the secret is it's Saturn. Yeah. And so what is that? Well, Saturday and Sunday, right? Saturday is the ancient day of Hebrew worship, and Sunday is the sun god worship. That was his son, but it's the same person, right? Well, it's the same thing. Ding. But I could just go and go and go, but I'm sure you're tired of staring at this wheel. But let me grab this charger here. And talk about the days of the week. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing. You can go to Wiki and go to the days of the week right here. But the names of the days of the week, they say in many languages, are derived from the names of the classical planets in Hellenistic astrology. Well, I'm telling you, it goes from way back before then, which were in turn named after contemporary deities, others around. They were already established. A system introduced by the Roman Empire during late antiquity. In some other languages, the days are named after corresponding deities of the regional culture. Knock, knock. Either beginning with Sunday or with Monday. In the International Standard ISO 8601, Monday is treated as the first day of the week. Sunday is the ending of the weekend, and then it begins again. But in reality, everybody's working for the weekend. And we really worship Friday and kick off a weekend, straighten up and come back to work and go again. And we're given a break. We're given a break of what? 2 out of 7. That's a sacred geometry thing too. And it doesn't just work with something like you're thinking of now, but it works with sacred measurements and all kinds of things and angles of stuff going on. I've only begun to touch upon sacred geometry when I put out those 4 strings there. It was really trying to, I guess, put a 101 at it. And that would have probably been done all in one class period if done correctly. And the next day you'd come in and I'd blow your mind again. Well, it'd probably take 2 to do what I did, and then, okay, well, you know this, and here's the diagram on the board. Well, let me show you something else, and reveal, and go on and on and on. But, so let's look at another picture for a second. Italian cameo bracelet representing the days of the weeks, corresponding to the planets as Roman gods. Diana as the moon, or that can be the huntress that we all know of, which spreads all the way from Artemis to Inanna, Diana, of course, but Ishtar. And so how far does this go back? Well, it goes back into prehistoric times. So here's Aries. So that's the moon. And then we have the Mars for Tuesday. Well, why don't they call it Mars Day? Well, that's because really it's about Tewes and not Mars itself, but it's the god of war. How does that connect? Well, if we look at the migrations that I talked about recently and who became who and Anglo-Saxons and all the things and all that, yeah, it's straight. Oh, there's that connection. Ding. And so that's Tuesday, which we'll get into more on, all of these. Mercury for Wednesday. Strangely, in this same spot, we get Wodensday because that's where it really comes from. But you have to put Mercury in here if you're going to put in the planets. But it's Wodensday. It's Wodensday. I'm certain of it. You are too. How does that connect? Oh, a lot of ways, with Woden and his connections with the serpent and the whole thing and going, oh yeah. And who was who before who what? Oh, now it makes more sense. And Quicksilver. And Mercury, and its element itself and its connections to ancient China and these people, these pyramids that are up in Tiran Basin area and stuff. And then let's not go too deep into that, for we're on, that's Wednesday, Wodensday. But we have Jupiter, y'all know Jupiter, for Thursday. Well, Jupiter's that storm god, right, and everything, and we all know about that. But that's Baal. Oh yeah, but that's also Thor, and that's Thorsday. Moonday, Tuesday, Wodensday, Thorsday, but then Venus for Friday. How does that work out? Well, it's Freyas Day. For Freya is Venus, and Venus again is another aspect of Artemis Diana. But in a lot of places, it's a mother-daughter concept, and in a lot of concepts, you find that this is a goddess of love who turns into a goddess of war and has a dual aspect of things. Why does Venus have a dual aspect? Well, she pops up in the morning. She's the bright morning star, and she pops up in the morning. She pops up in the evening. She heralds this back and forth. And some people thought she was two different people, playing peekaboo, all kinds of things. Freyas Day. Saturn, very important here, for Saturday, for he's the god of time. And then time kind of becomes important, doesn't it? For we're talking about a week, and this is a declamation of time. And that goes with a bigger connection. Weeks become months, months become years. 7 days for the moon cycle, right? And the women in position are in points of it that make the moon cycle right. There's 3 and 4. So that's Saturn. And then to top it off, they have Apollo as the sun god for Sunday, and he's the young, damn it, I spit it off. He's the extremely young, reborn god. I'd say he's 33 years old. It's just a guess. What was it, 31, right? Yeah. So if we look at this, they tell you about all kinds of different ones, and Greco-Roman traditions for whenever things come about, in 100 AD, and these planetary hours that they break it up into, and a treatise was lost on where people are all figuring this stuff out and working off knowledge that comes from the ancient Sumerians, the Ptolemaic system, planetary spheres, asserts the order of the heavenly bodies from the farthest to the closest to the Earth is Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, or objectively, the planets are ordered from slowest to fastest moving as they appear in the night sky. Ding! The days are named after the planets of Hellenistic astrology, but I'm telling you, it goes way back. Sun, Moon, Mars, Aries, Mercury, Hermes, Jupiter, Zeus, Venus, Aphrodite, and the Saturn Kronos, or the god of time, go back to ancient stories, and we're going to keep it all sacred no matter what they do. And so you think it's all lost, and it surrounds you every day. And all the knowledge that's accrued in a science came from this witchcraft. Oh yeah, it all came from that, and people learning things and how it all worked. Down from the elements all the way up to the major cosmos. It's amazing. So we can see that they have them lined up. Sol, Helios, the sun, Luna, Saluna, who I've told you about, in the moon, which it cuts off the top of her forehead but has a crescent on that, and it goes, that's in Anna. Tuesday, or Mars, or Aries. Why does it say Tuesday? We're going to get to that in a second. Wednesday, Mercury. It's hump day, it's the middle, and it whips it around back to another festival. It keeps you going. Thursday, but it says Jove. Well, that's Jehovah. Well, so why is he on that day? Well, that's because it really isn't all about him, is it? but that's Jupiter, Deus Pater. Well, Pater means father, heavenly father. Yeah, well, if you look at the way they made the pantheon work out its thing and everything, but hey, he ain't all that in a bag of chips. But he's Zeus. He's a storm god. Ruled over everybody after a while, too. All their storm gods. Thor took over everything. We've had videos about this. I did a whole series about storm gods and their connections. Venus, which is Friday. Aphrodite, Venus. Saturday is Kronos and Saturn. But in Italian, they have the same setup. Ancient Galatian, but Martes. Well, this is the name Marte. So that's the god of war. Yeah, the Marduk can come out of that too, but that's Mars. And you can get words like martyrs out of that same situation. Martyr, martis. Mortis. So in all these people, French, Castilian, Lombard, Venetian, Neapolitan, they all got it going on, of course, but they're all the same ones too, from Old Irish, and the Diu Mart, Dioth, Diu, this is it, the Deus, it's the same thing, a little bit of vowel different, not much difference at all. Cadwin, Scottish Gaelic, showing you the same connections. Welsh, Cornish, British. There's linguistically things I could go into, try to deep in here in Jaloon and how things work out, but Albania, Filipinos and what they had gotten. Chamorro, Maori people. Maori people. Edu, Esperanto, Lingua Franca Nova. Guys, it's in there. Germanic traditions. Sunday is Sunandag. Take the G off the end, that's Sunandag. Take the an out of the middle of it, and that's Sunday. It means Sun's Day. Dia Solis in English. It's the Lord's Day, based on the ecclesiastical Dies Dominica. Suna, Sol. Monday, Mondag. Take the G off the end, Monanday, meaning Moonsday. Personified as Mani. Tuesday is Tuesday. Take the G off, meaning Tuesday. Tu is a Norse god, Tyr. Here we have him. You could do a whole video on each one of these. But Tyr, like Tyrion, and it also goes with Phoenicians. Here it is. He was a one-handed god associated with a single combat, man-to-man combat and things. Pledges in North mythology also attested prominently in wider Germanic paganism. The name of the day is also related to the Latin name Dies Martis, or the day of Mars. And so they're going to deify this guy and put him in here. Well, Mars has already been taken because of this one guy. Yeah, but there's another people that very important, so you get their day. Wednesday, Wodensday, meaning the day of Germanic god Woden, known as Odin among Northern Germanic people, and prominent god of Anglo-Saxons and other Germanic peoples in England until about the 17th century, or 7th century, I'm sorry. And it was vaguely related to the Latin counterpart Dies Mercury, or the day of Mercury, the Icelandic Midviku, German Mittwoch, Low German Middle Week, Finnish Kleskadvalko, all meaning mid-week. So it worked together. It's the hump day, middle of the week, the mountain you climb and work your way down to the weekend. Thursday, pronounced Thorsday or Punorsday, means thunder or its personification. The Norse god is English known as Thor, similar to Dutch Dondertag, German Donnerstag. So whenever you hear in Christmas time Santa Claus call out to Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen and things, and you look into that, he's calling upon certain things, make it all go and the world go around, and make the sun have to be able to come up again. And he's taking this journey that's just like the solar boat journey, that's this thing that's kept with so many people across time, from the Wayback Machine and variations on a theme from Egypt to the ancient Proto-Indo-Europeans, but also over here, but also in the Middle East, and I'll be damned. No, you won't. Surely not for knowing the sacred knowledge that everybody kept. So that's Day of Jupiter. Well, Jupiter's a storm god. That all goes together. Click, bing. Friday tag, meaning the day of Anglo-Saxon goddess Frigga or Freya. The Norse name for the planet Venus was Frigga Starna, Frigg's star. It is based on the Latin Dies Veneris, or Day of Venus. What? So they're keeping that. It's sacred and everything. Still here. Saturday, named after the Roman god Saturn, associated with the Titan Kronos, father of Zeus and many Olympians. Its original Anglo-Saxon rendering was Saturnsday. In Latin, it's Dies Saturnae, Day of Saturn. The Scandinavian Lordag deviates significantly, as has no reference to either the Norse or the Roman pantheon. It derives from Old Norse Legardur, which literally means washing day. So it was the day at the end of everything when you're always working and you try to clean all your stuff up and everything, and want you to have clean clothes, because tomorrow we're going to do the big festival thing that we do every week, and they get together and then roll around the week again. It's the same damn thing, but they're going to refer to it in a different way. Well, quite often that is exactly washing day, but let's continue. The German Sonnabend, mainly used in northern and northeastern Germany, Loman German words Sonnabend, meaning Sunday Eve. So it actually was the day before Sunday. Well, that's the way that the ancient biblical people used to look at it, and they worship Saturn, and he's the hidden god that works at nighttime, that has a 12-year cycle, that works with everything, that is really the black hole sun, that is the opposite of the coin, or the other side of the web, or quite often a missing piece of a puzzle making a connection. So Proto-Germanic, and I'm not going to go through each one of these, but literally Woden, Odin, Thunor, it's the same, and it works the same way as Proto-Germanic, Old English, Old Saxon, High Old German, Middle German, German, Yiddish, Scottish. Why? Because they're all Proto-Indo-European linguistics. Take two steps back and they're all talking the same language, or can definitely understand each other quite well. Dutch, even the Afrikaans of South Africa, Luxembourg, West Frisian. There's some gabbage going on here, bud. Low Saxon, Old Norse, Faroese, Icelandic, Norwegian, Danish, Swedish, Elf, Dalian, Finnish, Estonian, even the Maori people. Hindu traditions run the same situation within a slight variation, and if you turned around and figured out the variation and who had helped them start things off and their true beliefs, you go like, oh wait, damn, there's another connection. It's funny when you find out the difference and what would have been the reason for the difference to include their pantheon or beliefs, it ends up still making the connection. all the way through. All of these people, Nepal, Sanskrit, Shina, Sandhi, Sandali, Tamil languages. Yep, that makes perfect sense with what we've talked about before. Burmese, Khmer, Lao, Shan, Thai, Javanese, Balinese, Sunda. How the hell is it all connected to the exact same thing? Well, it comes from a people from a long time ago, turned around and had it all going on from a long time ago, helping people out, and only variations of what they've done with it afterwards. Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Mongol, Tibetan. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Russian, of course, Belarusian, Ukrainian, Polish, Slovak, Czech, Slovenian. Well, we're talking about Proto-Indo-Europeans and people that came out of that. But Macedonian, oh yeah, it's same thing as the Latin, Hungarian, Estonian, and Lao and everything. What's funny is they're not going to show Sumerians on here and all the ancient people that already had this stuff going on. But Icelandic, Hebrew, well, ironically, they still have the fact that they are trapped in this. They've got, where do they get it from? The Sumerians, they even have a month. It's actually a Sumerian month. Tammuz. And who is that? Well, that's Jesus of the whole thing they had going on. Well, then how come they didn't have it full? It was given to them and not rolled through naturally. And then they still couldn't take it. Let's just go on. Galatian, Greek, Georgian and Armenian, getting all Caucasus Mountain, but Vietnamese, Somali, Amharic, Arabic. Yeah, we look at those people we're in contact with in the older days. Maltese, Malay, Javan, Sundanese, Persian. What? Khaur, Kurdish, Old Turkish, Uzbekistan, Navajo. Ding ding. There's about, I think it's up in the 20s of different tribes that were all well aware and ran it in the same situation. Most of them in northeastern America. It's the only one out west that they talk about usually. Swahili. What? Basque. Yep, it's Moonday, Marsday. Day last, though, they have here. If you go into this thing, they have a little say, well, this is different, this is different. So it's the day last. Day of days, day of light. Lucifer. Oh no. Day without supper. What? They famish before they feast. Sabato, that's the Sabbath. Zapatua, Domenica, Latin, Dominica, Dies, Sunday. But if you have day on every single one of them, aren't you still kind of doing the same thing? Is this rolled over already? That's amazing. So, damn, I never can get one in a 45-minute run, can I? So this calendar situation goes, this is just days of the week. You have months too that go after certain things. And where did June come from? Where it's July about? What's August? Why is December declinating Deca 10 and it's on the 12th month? And October the 8th, but it's the 10th month. Well, it's all calendar things. But it's strange how this all connects. But there's just one look at days and days of the week, but also who has a common belief and fit them under those same guidelines. Nowadays, after modern, the world gets a much smaller place, you can understand it. But if you see it from ancient times, maybe there's only one way that you can understand it. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace. Enjoy.